How's it going, guys? I'm here with your Raw review. So it's the night after the Elimination Chamber, and we've got like about 3 weeks left until Mania. It goes without saying that this has been one hell of a, disappointing build, as it always is, to WrestleMania. But I gotta say, this WrestleMania looks to be a lot better than last year. Last year on paper, Mania looked lackluster. This year, well, thanks in large part to a lot of stars of the past, being brought back that weren't there last year. Taker, Goldberg, John Cena, a lot of guys that weren't there at last year's Mania, they're going to be there. Bray Wyatt, it's another one. These guys are going to be here. Some of the best. When you think about it, Mania really lacked a lot of star power last year, and it really showed, a grim future for when they don't rely on stars of the past. Just how bad and boring WrestleMania could be. This is a perfect example of when they bring those guys back. So it's kind of a double-edged sword in a way. Better Mania, but it's a real harsh glimpse into the future of WWE for refusing to build new stars and downright saying that they're not going to do so. And it really showing in the product and the future. So we kick things off with Cringey Lynch cutting a promo. And, Shayna Bayzler just got finished with the Elimination Chamber, submitting 5 people, clearing out the entire chamber. Something very much akin to Goldberg. I compared it to Brock Lesnar because that was a more recent example in the Royal Rumble. But, it kind of reminded me of Goldberg in the second ever chamber match at SummerSlam 2003 when Goldberg plowed through just about everybody. And the only other pin I think there was when Goldberg got pinned by Triple H at the end. Here, Bayzler actually won. And I said this was very well booked. I didn't really particularly care for all the dead air that was involved. But I pretty much said if you check my review out, which if you haven't, I say go check that out, before you watch this one, or go check it out after you watch this, whatever you want to do. But if you want to hear my thoughts, I would recommend you go watch that video. It's the one right before this one. So, Cringey Lynch gets on the mic, and, what does she do? What do you want to do after someone who's imposing, who tears through everybody? You think maybe Cringey Lynch puts her over? No, she goes ahead and proceeds to say that Shayna Bayzler is a black hole of charisma. Okay, so here's the thing here. This is going to be your big WrestleMania match. This is for the women's title. So this match right here, you're basically saying that Cringey Lynch, this cringy star that, like, the fans don't really even seem that behind her anymore. I guess they are sort of, but it's nowhere where it was in, like, late 2018. People are kind of jumping off the Cringey Lynch bandwagon because it only seems to get cringier as we go on. But you can just kind of tell with the booking, the focus is kind of waning from her. It's not really as strong as it was, but it still kind of is. It's kind of a weird, sort of mix of kind of there and kind of not there, if that makes any sense. Well, you can't call the big challenger, Shayna Bayzler, a black hole of anything. There's this never works. Pointing out on TV that somebody is boring or devoid of something is never good. You don't take somebody's weaknesses and expose them. What do? You protect talent. You don't have them come out there and cut a promo on it, completely exposing them. It's once in a while, cutting a promo on Triple H having a big nose or, certain, like, catchphrases or whatever. But, you don't actually expose the bad character development and the bad booking. Shayna Bayzler is supposed to be booked to be, a vicious, unrelenting, cage fighter. She's biting people's necks and everything. Blood's pouring out of her mouth. And, instead of talking about all that, how she feels and what a great challenge it's going to be and coming up with, a creative storyline of some sort, they opt to say that Shayna Bayzler is boring. So you just went through all that in the chamber, you booked that whole thing, and now we're being told on Raw that she's boring. So why would we watch the match? Why would we be invested in the next 3 weeks of television? Well, the wrestler there on TV just said that Shayna Baszler's boring, so why should I even bother? I mean, honestly, and Shayna Bayzler is not even there? So you're telling me that she's going to be that vicious, that she's going to tear through 5 people just so she could get a shot at Cringey Lynch, and she's just going to sit at home. No video package, no nothing, just Baszler's not there, no explanation. She's not there. She just want to take a break, I guess. It's not exactly like she strained herself or took any big bumps in the chamber. I don't know. I'm not going to claim to be Dave Meltzer and know everything that took place behind the scenes of the chamber match. Maybe, anything could happen, but she seemed fine at the end of it. Unless she's really good at hiding an injury or pain or anything like that. I would say that Shayna Bayzler was in pretty good shape after the match. I mean, she only spent really a couple of minutes really wrestling in there, and no complaints there. As I said, I liked the way they worked the match. This is exactly how it should have worked, because none of those girls that were in this match really deserve to have any type of world title match the way how they've been built. So obviously Shayna Bayzler was the only legit challenger in there because of her background, and I mean, they could have established her a little bit better. Like, they're just like, oh, well, here's someone from NXT. That's good enough, right? Anyway, let's move on. So no Bayzler. Like, this is the main event match of Elimination Chamber. She wins the whole thing in dominant fashion. She's biting Cringey Lynch's neck. And, this is the follow-up to it. Cringey Lynch just tells you, well, she's boring. And I'm going to beat her because she's boring. You can't write television that bad. You can't write a storyline, if that's what this even is, that horribly. Rey Mysterio defeated Angel Garza. For some reason, I thought that Angel was going to win it after he, ducked out of the way of the 619. Rey beats him. I'm not really too crazy about this swapping Andrade out like in the feud, and they kind of just do-si-doed opponents. Instead of having Rey feud with Andrade, now he's feuding with Garza, and now Carrillo is feuding with Andrade, I suppose. Andrade isn't even on this show. Like, this is what I'm really not understanding. Andrade is not on this show, even though he's in... He was at Elimination Chamber in the title match, but they couldn't even find the spot for this guy on the show, and his kayfabe girlfriend there is Zelina Vega, and she's hanging out with Garza. He's nowhere to be seen. Carrillo's not there. I thought that they were all involved kind of in this a little, but they're nowhere to be seen. I just feel like with Rey Mysterio, like this guy should just be in the world title picture. I've said this a number of times. I get it. Putting over young talent, but let's be honest, guys. We already know that they're not going to build new stars, so what's the point? So if you're not going to build any new stars, then let's just have all the guys from the past main event, basically. Because these guys, they're not getting it done. No one has any character development. There's no reason, there's no believability that these guys would be in a main event slot to begin with. So let's just push everybody. I also saw Jeff Hardy is going to be returning on SmackDown. I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking more forward than I was to reviewing SmackDown for seeing Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy has been like out of this for I think like about 8 or 9 months or so. Someone said a year, but I don't think it's been that long. I'm pretty sure that he was there after Mania. I might have that wrong, but it's nice to see Jeff back, especially now that Matt is gone. So I would say it would be really great if Jeff Hardy could go on. You know what I'm saying? If we're going to have Finn Balor against Brock Lesnar and we're going to have Ricochet against Brock Lesnar, then you might as well have Jeff Hardy step up and, challenge. I would really like to see Jeff Hardy get in there in the main event scene. I don't know why he wasn't already there. Like, these guys are established. These guys are the actual draws, No one seemed to really care about them because you were kind of putting them in secondary roles. I guarantee you if they put these guys back in the main event, we'll see a bit of more of an upturn in viewership. Just the fact that those names are there, because no one wants to see these other guys at the top. Not a big upturn in viewership, let me just state that. But like I said, there's no point. If Triple H has already said we're not building new stars, why are we even going to bother, doing anything with these new guys? It doesn't make any sense, really, when you think about it. So Ray goes over Angel Garza. Owens gets beat up backstage by Moifi and AOP. Seth Rollins is standing there with the popcorn, more popcorn. It was I guess you could say it was a little clever because Owens was stuffing his fat face with it the previous night at the Chamber. Then we get Charlotte coming out, cutting a promo. Rhea Ripley comes out. She's about to talk. She grabs the mic away from her and says, "This isn't NXT." Then Ripley just punches her in the face. And, this is the funny thing about Charlotte just standing there smiling. And I get it. It's kind of supposed to be like Charlotte's like, yeah, okay. Like, yeah, we'll see what happens. But there's so much of that. And I noticed, I forgot to mention it in my Elimination Chamber review. When Sami Zayn steals the title from Braun Strowman, what does Braun Strowman do? He stands in the ring, and calls Sami Zayn an SOB. I'm gonna get you. But he won't come out of the ring and chase him or anything like that. Like, that's where it stops, right? If the person exited the ring that hit you, then you can't go past that magical barrier. Yeah, I know, Cody Rhodes commented a few months ago on an episode of AEW Dynamite, and I suppose people are going to expect me to give him credit. Oh, see, you talk all that garbage about AEW, but Cody I'm not going to give him any credit. Okay, that's been a thing for a while. I was saying it on this channel way before Cody is. I'm not comparing myself to Cody Rhodes, but I'll assume that there will be people who will probably say that. I just figured I'd bring it up. But that magical barrier, that's total BS. I mean, that takes away from the effect of what could be really like vicious and, really like more like gripping storylines. These rivalries could be hotter, they could be more fierce, but it's so lame. That's like, oh, well, that's it. And, and scene. And that's it until next week. Charlotte's just going to be good getting punched in the face. She doesn't seek any retaliation backstage. She's not going to go to Rhea Ripley's locker room or the parking lot and try to find her. But we'll talk more about, going backstage later on, because I have to address that in another segment. I'm not like, I said like Rhea Ripley, she's got something there going on, like with the style and everything, the punk rocker look, and, I dig it, but there's not enough reason here. Like, I'm like, guys, this is the thing. Unlike a lot of other people here in the YWC, like JD and the rest of them, I don't watch NXT. So I only know a little bit about Rhea Ripley. Show that what they've shown of her on Survivor Series and like a few other choice matches. See, but this is the thing. You have to think about people like me that don't watch NXT. I am expected to know about this. I am expected to know about NXT and who Rhea Ripley is and the legacy that she has there. I don't. So here is basically I'm just someone wins the Royal Rumble on the main roster, and they have picked to go after the NXT championship. So it's like, doesn't it make sense that Shayna Bayzler wants to go after the women's championship, because that's the big gold right there, right? So that makes sense. And then you've got Charlotte, who's like won both the SmackDown and Raw titles multiple times. So there's nothing that they could do that would seem original. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna have her go backwards and try to win the title, because that's her roots, and she hasn't won that title in a long time. I mentioned this, when Rhea Ripley challenged her and the match was pretty much set. It would have been one thing if she had a belt and Rhea Ripley came up, but the fact that this is the other way around just is so odd, and just it looks stupid. It really does. That Charlotte is challenging for the developmental championship. And I know a lot of people get upset when they say that, but I'm sorry, but NXT is the former FCW. And before FCW was the developmental territory, it was OVW. Why, it would have, can you imagine when Stone Cold won the Royal Rumble back in 1998? OVW wasn't there yet. But like OVW was there. Like when let's say Triple H won the Royal Rumble in 2002. Just got back from an injury. And whoever was the champion at that time down in OVW, if Triple H challenged for that championship, like, it just would be stupid. Okay, you could say, Triple H was never in the OVW, but you get the point. Why would anyone want to go back down the ladder when they should be climbing up? Like, Charlotte is Ric Flair's daughter. This is a Flair here. This is a prestigious athlete. She's a big-time star. This is supposed to be the A-list here. She main evented WrestleMania last year with both women's titles on the line. So instead, she's going to go backwards and probably have the least prestigious match, Now, I don't know what Bayley is doing at Mania. They don't even have anything really set up or announced or anything like that. So I'm going to assume it's going to be something lame, like a multi-women match or something. You can pretty much bank on it at this point. If you don't have a feud or if you don't have anything planned, just book a bunch of people in a match. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Lashley defeats Zack Ryder. Of course, we've talked about Zack Ryder a number of times. But, what's the point here? Lashley getting a squash win over Ryder. Is there a point? Lashley loses, is the one who gets pinned by Ricochet, who, by the way, is not even booked at Elimination Chamber, isn't even booked on this episode of Raw. He's nowhere to be found. McMahon has completely given up on this guy. He's out of there. Like, this pretty much the lack of his appearance on those two shows pretty much shows that McMahon has had it up to here with this guy. I guess that was kind of like his bon voyage right there, of just getting squashed by Lesnar and then putting him in a match with Riddick Ross not even a week later and having him pretty much get squashed there as well. But you've got Lashley, who got pinned by that guy, and now they realize, we must have made a mistake, so now we're gonna slowly build Lashley up again just so we can do nothing with him. Do they realize that in Saudi Arabia we could have had a Lashley Brock match, which would have been an epic match? It would have been a great match, a match that a lot of people would have liked to see. When Lashley first burst on the scene in WWE, a lot of people were saying that he was the Black Brock Lesnar. And in a lot of ways, that may be true. I mean, he really does have a lot of Brock in him. The aggressive style, the amateur background, and the physique. I mean, if anything, actually, Lashley, probably has a better physique than him. Might even be stronger than Brock. Would have been a really interesting match to see. But instead, we get the little Ricochet. We get the underdog who just gets squashed, as soon as the match starts. Instead of getting this great epic powerhouse match, we could have seen some great, amateur style wrestling. We could have seen some big power moves. It would have been great. Sure, we would have gotten terrible build-up, but at least we would have had the match to enjoy, which would have been something to see. It would have been some spectacle. It would have been, something grand to look at, but we didn't get that. Instead, we got garbage. So now it's time to have Lashley get built up again. Once again, no Rusev, no Lana. I guess we're past that, but no Lana at all. Like, I know they talked about Lana, but no one questioned where Lana was. Backstage, someone finally knocks on Aleister Black's locker room door. He's sitting in the dark. I don't know if he, doesn't believe in light bulbs. I don't know if Aleister Black is like a Amishman or something like that. If he's churning butter in there or whatever the case may be. AJ comes in. Seth Rollins comes in and challenges him. I'm so used to this AJ stuff that he's been involved in. They're past that. Seth Rollins is in there. He asks him if he wants to join his little clique, whatever it's called. Aleister Black refuses, and then, Seth basically challenges him to a match. Black says those are fighting words, and they're, off to the races with the match. We've got Drew McIntyre defeating Eric Rowan. And here's the thing about this. So last week, we had a bit of fun. We talked about the fake animatronic spider that Rowan did the big reveal, backstage last week. We all laughed and said, how corny and cheesy it was. I was probably the only one, I think, on the entire YWC that actually said, well, this could have been a cool idea if maybe it was a real spider or something like that, but instead we get this big fake spider that he pulls out, and, and it's just basically laughable. So this week, Drew McIntyre is booked in the match for no particular reason with Eric Rowan. He takes the steel steps, bashes the cage, and for some reason, like, not one mention is made of the spider inside of it. Jared King Lawler even comments that, if there was anything in there at all, like, saying like, if they already saw what was in there last week, so now pretending like they don't know. So I don't know if like they got the negative response and they kind of deleted that from history, almost like it didn't even happen. I think they did. I think they just totally retconned that segment from last week. I think they were like, well, we effed up, so we're going to just get rid of it. Because you listen to what the King says, if you go back and you listen to that segment, it was almost like they don't know what's in there. There could have been something in there. Maybe there wasn't anything. Anyway, Drew bashes it. Rowan gets all upset. Drew McIntyre takes him down with the Claymore, and that's basically it. So, all those weeks of building up Eric Rowan, and here we go, just Rowan just getting beat. Rowan just gets beat straight by Aleister Black a bunch of times, and, here we have him losing to Drew McIntyre. No reason behind it at all. It's just like, well, we're done with, so here's the thing, what I found funny about this too, because Drew McIntyre just got finished cutting a promo a few weeks back where he basically blamed himself, not WWE Creative, because of course this is their show, about all the failures that he had in the past, that he couldn't deliver on McMahon. He blamed himself for not being able to deliver on McMahon's promise of him being the chosen one. Now I get it. They want to try to they should have that should have been another thing that they retconned and just kind of forgot about it, or just don't talk about it. There's no reason to talk about it. Why do we need to go back to the past and everything? Repent for your mistakes and just do better next time. There's no reason to say, oh, I used to be a failure in the past. Look at all my goofy antics in 3MB. There was no reason. When he's got this badass character. There's no reason to go back in time and take the time machine to when he used to suck. There's no reason to do so. So here we've got Eric Rowan, and here's the story here. Well, we put an animatronic spider in the cage. Gee, I wonder why Eric Rowan couldn't get over. Well, we give up, so let's just have him job out. I mean, here's a perfect example, once again, of where you've got a guy here that's like 6'10", over 300 pounds, looks like he could kill somebody. You know, this guy is just intimidating alone. They can't figure out what to do with him, so they give him the most random gimmick as possible, the mysterious caged creature. So when they finally do the big reveal, they make sure it's as goofy as possible. So then they have the excuse, well, Eric Rowan couldn't get it over. Wow, I wonder why. You gave him a big fake spider, and somehow, some way, this didn't get over. Oh man, that's got to be Eric Rowan's fault. Man, he should have got that. Like, how was he supposed to get that over? In what way? In what dimension? In what life would he ever be able to get something like that over? Like that? No, I'm sorry. If that's supposed to be, what defines him, then you screwed up, because you're the ones who put that segment together and said, hey, let's put that prop in there and let's make that the story. So it's basically, that's why we end up here. It's the same thing like Matt Hardy, and Matt Hardy now I think is officially not in the company anymore. He's off to AEW to be the leader of the Dark Order. And they really screwed up. Like, they had all the tools here. They laid down all the groundwork for the, Woken Matt Hardy gimmick. And what happened? They completely just were negligent, forgot about him, and they reverted him back to his old cat. Like the first time he came into WWE, took away his character, took away his charisma, and we were left with just a shell of Matt Hardy, basically. And of course they're gonna blame Matt Hardy. Don't blame themselves for not giving these people, the necessary, booking in order to be able to succeed. It's basically, these guys, they just can't get over. It's all their fault. Yeah, this is a lot of guys that are really failing to get over. Yeah, these guys don't know what they're doing. Are you kidding me? How hard is it to get a guy like Eric Rowan over? Just have him go out there and just destroy everybody. Like, you need to have him have a fake spider to carry around. Like, is that really necessary? Okay, you could have a little something there. I'm not saying, like, don't have him have any type of, like, gimmick or anything. Sure, I'm all for it, but, like, you just assign him the most random, boringest, most goofiest thing that you could think of. And then right here, this is basically showing, well, they didn't get over. People thumbed it down on YouTube, and it's his fault. Eric Rowan should go into that writing room, throw everything off the table, throw the computer, all the laptops and everything and the tablets onto the floor, and say, write me better stuff, because this is absolute garbage. Like, this guy looks the way he does, and, they're just going to basically write it out until he doesn't want to work for the company anymore. And the thing is, it's like, some people say, and I agree, like, they're getting paid a lot of money. Just shut your mouths, do what you want. But, like, sometimes I could see why, if you're doing this every day, you kind of get sick of being the loser, looking like the goofball on a national TV show from week to week. So, especially when you kind of have value like Eric Rowan, and it's very obvious that, like, this guy, should be a certain way on the show. And it's not like they're not using him, but they're using him in the complete most idiotic way possible. So, but of course, just like the Drew McIntyre segment, it's all my fault. I take full responsibility for being booked to look like an idiot. But we've got, they had the commercial of Jeff Hardy returning. As I said, I'm looking forward to that. Jeff Hardy being booked for Mania will also be another reason why this Mania ends up being a lot better than all the others. In the recent, well, at least better than last year's. Kairi Sane and Asuka defeated Natalya and Liv Morgan. No one cared, and nor should anybody. This brand new spanking tag team of Natalya and Liv Morgan, like, they brought Liv back. They did the lesbian thing with Lana, and now they've kind of just moved on to just shoving her in a boring tag team. AJ Styles cut a promo in the ring, and here's the thing. Guys, okay, so let's summarize the promo. AJ comes out. He said that he ruined the beautiful moment at Mania, laying down his coat in the ring. And, you know, he said basically he fooled everybody. He came back. He said, you know, his ego didn't allow him to retire. And, you know, actually, I got to say, I agree with this. I don't think I've ranted on it enough. Taker probably should have just retired with Roman Reigns and everything, because it's like, this guy's legacy, like, when is going to be his last match? You know, don't you want to go out on a high note? You know, at least you could say that Stone Cold's last match was against The Rock. So you could say that he definitely went out on a high note. He went out against one of his best opponents. So it was definitely, you know, he definitely got out at the right time. He didn't really have much of a choice, but, you know, there's been, you know, a lot of talk about him returning every Mania. You know, he says that he has one more match left him and all this. And I always say that maybe Stone Cold shouldn't return. You know, he already went out the best way possible that he really could during a really good time in wrestling. You know, a more than decent time in wrestling in 2003. You know, against The Rock. You know, how can he find a better last opponent than that? You know, I don't know if The Rock would be willing to come back for another match ever again. You know, there's no guarantees on that. So it's like, why should Stone Cold come back? So, you know, he could have just a random match with one of the newer guys on the roster, which, you know, based on the booking, won't really mean a whole lot. Sure, it will be a spectacle. Sure, it will be exciting to see, but I'd rather just see him keep his last match to being the WrestleMania 19 one. I'm perfectly fine with that. What a great way to go out on your legacy. Okay, so, you know, so AJ's getting some heat. You know, he's talking about Taker being a broken down old man. And, you know, they say this every year, basically. This is my yard. I'm going to take the yard from you. Okay, obviously AJ's going to lose to him. So they got to come up with something different, right? They got to come up with something a little extra, right? That's not going to cut it. You know, so what do? They have AJ bring up Michelle McCool. It's your fault. It's your wife's fault for having you wrestle. It's, you know, your wife is the one who motivates you to get back in the ring. You know, you're whipped by Michelle McCool. She's making you do this. And I was like, wow, blaming the wife. Where did I see this? Well, yeah, what happened last week? Wasn't there a promo with Randy Orton about Edge and a certain, you know, someone's wife was there? Oh, yeah, that's right. Beth Phoenix. And didn't Randy Orton say that Beth Phoenix was an enabler and all that? Yeah, this promo kind of sounded a little familiar. So now WrestleMania season is all about blaming wrestlers' wives. You know, this is the storylines that they're coming up with. Okay, you know, I'm not saying it was good with Randy Orton and Beth Phoenix, but you're doing the same thing for Taker, and I love this, like, you know, how I didn't really like this whole thing, how AJ was like, well, Michelle McCool is married to The Undertaker. You know, it's kind of like, if Taker comes out there with the dark side gimmick and everything, he's going to come out there as the Phenom. I almost feel like now that they're doing this, like, expose type of thing, he almost has to come out as the biker. Because, I don't know, just him coming out there in the trench coat and the hat and rolling the eyes in the back of his head. You know, when he's being heralded as the husband of Michelle McCool, I can't see that like being booked that way, but I know that it is. Because I know they're never going to give us the biker gimmick again. I don't know what it is, if Taker doesn't want to do it, if Vince doesn't want it. I don't know. But as far as I can see, like, this would be the perfect time to do it. But I like, they're doing the same storyline. It's Beth Phoenix's fault. It's Michelle McCool's fault. It's all the wives' fault. Like, seriously, it's the blame your wife mania. I mean, I can't believe that they're. It's like, I think they saw some positive reviews of the promo last week. So they're like, yeah, that's what we need. More wives, yeah. We need more wives of wrestlers being involved, or at least have their names brought up. If you see Michelle McCool come to Raw next week, then you know that they're just basically, it was a total copy and paste already. But if they show Michelle McCool next week, then you definitely know it's a total copy and paste, that they have no creative bones in their body, and whatever creative bones in their body that they do have, they're just gonna take those ideas and just copy them 1,000 times over. It's like, guys, not like it was really that big and huge and massive of a success. It was a good promo last week, very decent, way better than we're usually used to. You know, it's great when you get a promo that's not absolute garbage. I think anything looks like $1,000,000 in comparison. Nobody said it was a pretty well told out story and explanation, which is very uncommon for them. And I don't think I gave it enough credit. You know, I think I was like, well, you know, maybe they could have. It was pretty decent. It was a decent promo. But here they're repeating the same thing over again. Taker's not there, no response. You know, which is kind of the theme. You know, let's talk about people but not have anyone respond. Then we had Riddick Moss defeating Cedric Alexander. Didn't like Cedric Alexander pin Drew McIntyre, or he pinned somebody. And now Moss is being... I will say this. I like Moss's look. He's got a good physique. I don't know where this is going. Like, this guy just came out of left field. Mojo Rawley is like... How does it like look that like Mojo kind of brings this guy in, but Mojo's just like shoved off the show completely? I don't even know if he's even on main event or anything like that. He's off the show completely, and the newer guy is like basically getting treated better than he ever has. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, this guy, you know, he does look good. What he was doing in the ring looked pretty good. You know, the moves look good. He's got a good look. You know, at least he works out, you know. So, I mean, you know, these are some basic compliments, basically. But, you know, it's better than seeing a guy like Cedric Alexander pushed. I'd rather see more guys that look like Riddick Moss. This is more of the archetype of what I look for in a wrestler. And then we get one of the big segments of the night. MVP comes out, and this was very, like, misplaced. MVP starts cutting a promo about how he's going to like take Edge under his wing and everything, and you know, he's saying that, you know, Edge has to focus more. This just felt so out of place. You know, Edge is shown coming into the arena. He gets out of his truck. He comes to the ring. MVP starts talking about his wife. Edge turns around, you know, again, more about the wives, right? It's all about let's bash the wives tonight. The past couple of weeks, Edge turns around, spears MVP. This brings out Orton. Then Edge gives an RKO to Orton. Then he gives another RKO to MVP on the steel chair. So, you know, he basically tore into everybody. So, you know, you got to say Edge came back with a vengeance and everything. But, like, the whole MVP thing was really, like, random. Like, why was he there? It didn't seem like the right moment to have MVP out there when this is supposed to be a big grudge match between MVP and Orton. It's kind of like they didn't want to have Edge, like, destroy Orton, so they wanted to have somebody else in there because, of course, you know, Edge says to Orton, "This is you," and then he gives the RKO to him. and then he gives him the concerto on top of that. So it's like they kind of just wanted to have, a fall guy in there. But it felt weird. Like MVP's gonna come out there and cut a promo before, and then Edge just magically shows up to the arena as he's cutting the promo. I don't know. This just felt a little bit weirdly placed and put together. I didn't really see the point of having MVP out there. I mean, like, what MVP did on the mic was decent enough, but this just felt weird. Like, an MVP, like, I just feel like they should put this guy with a younger guy. Once again, I don't really see the point since they're not interested in building new stars, but perhaps it could just give the illusion of a new star being built. Well, anyway, Paul Heyman in the video package, standard Heyman stuff. Then Drew McIntyre cuts a pretty generic little promo here in this video package, which I don't understand. If the guy is there, why is there a video package of him? Just have him cut a promo then. Like, I didn't really get why this had to be there. Or have him respond to the video package. Instead, it's just like, here's the video package, and then there's a pre-taped segment of Drew McIntyre responding to that segment right after he heard it. So I guess he viewed this before it was showed to everybody else. Like, okay. Aleister Black defeats Seth Rollins by disqualification when the AOP interfere. The Viking Raiders get involved, and magically, somehow, I don't know, I guess it was the referee once again, makes this into an 8-man tag match. Rollins, Murphy, AOP defeat the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits. And I'm sorry, it's just these, I don't know what it is, these Street Profits, I can't bear to watch them. This is one hell of a cringy tag team, and those... It's just those stupid, red solo cups they come out to the ring with, like, ooh, there might be alcohol in here. Just like, oh God, I don't know. It's super lame. This team, I don't know. Montez Ford just kind of looks like a goofball to me, and I'm not into this team at all. Like the Viking Raiders, okay, this is a tough team. But I don't know, the Viking Raiders just kind of seems very outdated to me, this gimmick, and it's just a very weird mix, and also Street Profits is basically just filling in for Owens and Samoa Joe. There's not really a lot here. This is the main event of Raw, basically, and you've got, like, one team that, okay, you've got Seth Rollins on there, and the other side, like, Viking Raiders and Street Profits, like, this is main event stuff. I just feel like they should have ended it with Edge and Orton and MVP, because that was more interesting than this. And there's your show, basically. I don't really know, like, what to tell you guys. The one thing I will say is, this is the part I didn't mention. Edge goes backstage and he actually looked for Orton. Wow, was that so hard to do? They show him, going around backstage. I think he asked Charlie where Orton is, says that he left, and then the Edge just kind of just stares. Okay, I would have liked to see Edge kind of say a bit more at that part instead of just staring and then the camera just cuts away. I don't know what it is. It's almost like they don't know what to do, so they just buy time by just cutting cameras, not having anyone go after anyone after they leave the ring, because they're like, okay, that's enough. Cut. We'll wait till next week and then we'll do something else. And as a result, I know you don't want to do too much. You want to leave stuff over. But why was this never a problem in the Attitude Era? Why was this never a problem in the Ruthless Aggression Era? Why was this not a problem in the 80s? This never used to even be a problem in 1995. There never used to be so much of an issue with, like, having a satisfying segment. Now, it's one thing to have, like, a bad segment and everything, but it's a lot of times, like, it looks like they're getting somewhere and then they just stop. They're like, that's enough. Like, I think that's part of the problem. It's a real, small piece of the pie, but that really does have a lot to do with the, how horrible a lot of things turn out. There's just not enough leaving things feeling very awkward, unfinished, unpolished. And I get it, they're rewriting things before the show, but like I said, like, a few good ideas have to slip through. Okay, they handled the Edge and Orton thing well enough. At least Edge went after him. You know, it didn't stop. Well, like, oh, well, Orton left the ring, so I guess so he does go. I would have liked to see a bit more of a parking lot brawl. I mean, like, you know what I mean? After like an entire month of not seeing Edge, you know, more than a month, it would have been nice to at least see this prolonged a little bit more. It would have been nice to see these guys get physical. I'm not saying that Edge has to dominate Orton like Orton did to Edge, but you could at least have these guys exchanging punches. Okay, maybe you want to save it to Mania. But please don't tell me that we're going to go a whole 3 weeks now with just like these unfinished segments where, like, you know, Orton's just dodging away. Like, Orton is this maniac. I'm not seeing that he's a scaredy cat, so I'm not even sure why he's getting out of the ring. Like, you made people wait this long. Could you at least, you know, have a fully satisfying thing, like good segment, but just a little bit more? Okay, I know people go, oh, well, they left you wanting a little bit more, so didn't they succeed in what they set out to? No, they didn't. It's lazy. They just don't want to do more. They don't want to film more, so they'll just move on to the next thing and go back to it next week. Well, how about living in the now? How about, you know, it's not like your ratings are so fantastic and everything. I'm not saying that this is going to lead to, like, you know, bustling ratings, but, you know, it's like they want to save more for like a show that barely anyone's watching anyway. So they might as well take a chance and show a little bit more and get people a little bit more invested, because there's no point in showing a crappy segment. You know, that's just going to make more people tune out. Give them the full version. And if you were creative enough, you could easily come up with more ideas. I don't think people realize this. These people are paid to come up with ideas, and I don't even see any ideas. Like, there's no storylines really at all. And the ones that they do, like I'm saying, like, this is what they're paying creative for. This is why we have 30 guys on creative, so they could copy and paste the same storyline from Edge Orton over onto AJ and Taker. Anyway, guys, as I said, this is your review. Hope you all enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all notifications when I post all my new videos. And guys, thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.